Hello everyone and welcome back. We're here for the 18th Open at Tallahassee, sponsored by Visit Tallahassee. Tom Brown Park is the location. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with Silas Schultz. Silas joining me again for the back nine, and we see that 4 under is essentially leading at this point. Do you feel like the front or the back play a little bit easier?
I think they're pretty even, but I think the back has a couple more gettable par threes. And so if you're really throwing your drives well, the back nine is definitely very scoreable. So,
well, let's see how it shakes out as we're going to head over to hole number 10. And, well, here's a tunnel shot.
Yeah, this one, there's a couple ways to go. You can throw a roller if you want, but the main thing is you have this tree, not quite in the middle, a little bit on the right. You can swing a hyzer to the right of that if you like. The more pure line is like a hyzer stand-up down the middle where you carry straight and then finish and hopefully don't just hit a root and go backwards. You kind of want a little bit of ground play forward.
Very uneven terrain up near the basket. So as you said, lots of ground play can happen.
That's wonderful. He catches the last tree, but that's exactly what you want, is to kind of test that tree a little bit or just a hyzer stand up. But if you're going to swing a hyzer, you're going to have to get it kind of close to that.
Maybe on that short left side for Casey, so not quite peering the gap.
Oh, and I like this play. So he's throwing a flex at the tree, getting around it, skipping into the basket, almost just parked. That's so good. A very technical shot to throw an anhyzer at that tree and get it to go around and then skip. And right through. No. That's also a play if you want to go through the tree.
Like almost like blocked and then spit back. You know, he splits the trees, but then the one behind it says, nope, do not pass go. And not Charlie's best effort there. He's still going to leave a little on that for the putt. And this can get dangerous, right? You get aggressive with this. This grabs a limb or some metal, and you could easily pick up and roll right back down the hill.
Definitely. It's always kind of a possibility on these slopes with all of these roots and everything. Very easy to happen. Luckily, that one just sits down.
Orum off the band again.
Johnny, where are you at?
It feels like that's the 3rd or 4th time we've seen him hit band on a birdie putt.
Yeah, it definitely feels weird. And I mean, his drive is like, that's what you want. But it definitely, there's a couple of trees to miss. And if you don't, you're left with that putt. So Johnny is able to get through the trees, throw a nice skip shot, and just capitalize on a sweet birdie. This is a good one to get. It feels really good.
It does. I was going to say it plays a little bit uphill. Yeah, the 375 is gettable, but as you said, you got to navigate through so many different tunnels or gaps or trees. Played at 3.07 on the day, so just still a little bit over par. 13 out of the 18 holes played over par on the day, though.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible. We'll see if that shifts as people start to figure out the course as we're here on 11.
Yeah, I think that number is a lot of just tough birdies, and if you don't figure it out, it's going to be hard to get them. And then this is a perfect example of that. It's just basically a really long forehand. It's like a stand-up, is like a hyzer stand-up forehand is the best way to do it. There are other ways if you can try to get this to work, but it's just really hard for the backhand and hyzer to get right enough. Unless you hit a tree and roll all the way there.
Not quite all the way, but certainly a favorable roll. So rarely do you say, oh, hit a tree and roll downhill, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. Well, that was one of the times it actually helped. And here's the forehand you're talking about.
This is a big forehand. No matter if you can get this in the circle, that is just a big forehand. So, I mean, not a huge surprise to not get it all the way there. Roller definitely in play here. Oh.
Splitting those, but then ultimately running out of gas too early. But definitely the right idea.
For sure. I mean, yeah, if the forehand, if you can't get it there, you kind of have to get creative.
And you have that ground and the slope to work with to your advantage, and that gets a little kiss off a tree. Not quite what we saw from Johnny's, but still helps.
And I think this is kind of the move on the upshot here. If you're not in position to birdie, like Matteo might give this a run, but it is downhill, so things can get pretty scary. Oh my gosh.
Another band hit.
He is so close on a lot of I mean, he's playing a great round. Like oh my gosh. Layup is not the play. I was wrong. Let's go, dude.
I think that's a Bieber song.
Oh my gosh. That's what he was listening to in his headphones.
I wasn't going to say it.
Never give up. And he just, dude, to make a shot and just scream, never give up. That is goals right there, man.
Now McCray from a little bit closer. Ooh, I was genuinely waiting for him to step up and then also follow it in. But
in your tone, when you said a little bit closer, I thought he had. And I was just so thrilled to try to see him make that, but he ended up not. So a couple of pars, and man, what a birdie. That's so awesome. This is not like the ideal shot to just run from like 100, but man, that's so sick by Charlie. Never give up.
5th most difficult hole on the course. Played at .32 over par.
No. That one cut deep. You could tell that one stung. And I think it's playing over par because stuff like that's going to happen. People are going to miss their putts. There's not like or if you go early, you'll take a bogey, but there's just not going to be a lot of birdies to counteract that. Here on 12, we have a cool gap shot off the drive, and then you're throwing down into this like side hill, and then your upshot is kind of on this side slope. So there's actually OB on the left over there by that building and fence. And so on the drive, you just got to keep it low and get it really far. And the right side is kind of more the place to be, because if you're pinched off left, you have to throw like a low skip shot or something, and you just want to be more right just because it's easier to stick it on the green. And that just plays so good for Matteo's kind of air bounce.
Yeah, low, center.
And just distance. Like, that is very far down there. He's going to have a pretty textbook approach. That's very pretty as well.
Yeah, perfect follow-up to what we just saw from Orum. Not quite the same distance, but very good shot.
Very ideal, yeah.
Big drive for Johnny. Good to see him with a little humor after that bogey on the previous hole. And let's go, kids. As he's out here out driving most of the field in MPO, which is pretty incredible.
How old is Johnny?
I don't want to say too old. In guessing 54-ish or 53.
Regardless,
he's in that neighborhood.
He's still got it, man.
Oh yeah,
and he's always had it. But man, it's just so cool to see. Like, he's not having his best round right now, but he is like very much keeping up with these guys, and it has so many years on him.
Yeah, and in the fact that, of course, the recovery after his heart and everything else in the last couple of years, all the things they've battled. I know they've also had some losses within their families. Him and Jen, they just continue to battle through everything. So it's so incredible to see him out here still in good spirits, and truly the warrior that he is.
Yeah.
Like you said, just textbook. And Orum said, it's been a couple years since I've done that. He says he struggled on this hole, even though he's perfectly played it this time. It's another band hit. I know obviously Orum's had a handful of them, but man, it feels like when people are just missing this basket, they're hitting the top of it.
What is that?
That's an air ball, Casey. That's if you're asking what that is thinking too much about what's behind the basket and then just thinking it into reality, right?
Yeah.
Is that what he did there?
I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, sometimes it's just a miss, but you got to think that had to play a part. Man, that hit a lot of the basket and did not stay in. And this hole is like, it's not super difficult if you just do what Matt did. You know, you throw a great drive, your easy upshot, but there's a lot of things that can get very tricky. Like Casey was close to the out of bounds, didn't end up catching any. Oh, that's disrespectful. But I do like that he thanked the veterans. Great people, very important.
Well, I think Johnny's gonna help out as well on that front.
Yeah.
Thank you to the real veterans out there.
In all fairness, Silas has not seen any of this footage. All of his reactions and comments 100% fresh and genuine, and so on the same page. And Casey's like, yeah, good call. You're right. You're right on that.
Me and me and Johnny with the dad jokes. We're on the same page.
But in all seriousness, of course, thank you
to all
our veterans, of course.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so as now we head over to hole 13, one of the most open holes on the course, also a par 5 with plenty of work to do.
Yeah, this is one I think it plays as the easiest hole. And I think it's also combined 2 holes on the local course. So you're going to just throw a big drive onto this tiered hill. So you kind of have to pick your distance a little bit if you don't want to have an uphill run up. So Matt does that very well, getting to a top tier. And he's going to have an approach. And on the approach, it's kind of just make do. Like a roller is a great play if you're trying to get an eagle. But really, if you're able to throw a good drive out there, get your upshot in play, birdie is very much in play here.
Yes, relative to par, this was the most, let's say the easiest hole on the course relative to par here today. Average 4.64.
Do we have any eagles?
Well, you just hold on.
Okay.
No spoilers here.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
There have been 0 eagles thus far.
Okay.
That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah. Casey going roller here. I like the play. There is a scary branch off the tee that freaks me out a little bit because I think I hit it last year trying to go roller. But the roller is get a bunch of distance. The scary thing is if it starts going backwards,
yeah,
it's
going to
go
put
backwards.
enough angle on it. And I heard him saying, he's throwing one of his flippiest drivers for that roller, but then at the last moment, he's like, well, don't flip it too much. Yeah. And so ultimately overcompensated, and he has a really good, solid second shot here to try and make up for it. And interestingly enough, right before Charlie had thrown this, he said, is this a par 4 or is this a par 5? So
that's a good question to be asking on a par 5. Not on a par 4, because I've had that question on some par 4s, and when they say par 4, you're very disappointed.
And, you talked about your footing and the tier in which you get to. Johnny frustrated because he throws a huge drive, but then has just a few feet of awkward footing right there. You have hundreds of feet to work with, and then he just lands in a spot that, somewhat restricts his run up. And I can understand being frustrated on such a wide open hole.
Right, and that's, like I say, you have to have distance control. That's a really hard thing to get to a good spot. You have to play the hole, figure out when you're throwing your hardest, where does that get you? You know what I mean? A lot of the time you can just end up with something kind of uncomfortable like what Johnny was working with there. I think Matteo was probably trying to get a lot more aggressive than that. It seemed just too low.
Yeah, he was contemplating if he goes the left route or the right route, and he felt almost like you're conceding a little bit of danger by just going off to the right in his case. And ultimately, I think he was thinking, hey, I've got a decent round going. Let's not get too silly with this.
And even though it's an easy par 5, a birdie is a birdie. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so get your birdie.
Great point, as McCray will have the easy tap in for birdie there.
It looks like wind is starting to play a factor for these guys. You come out of that last hole that are not wooded, but I think that side of the course is definitely less windy than over here. You're a lot more exposed. So Matteo playing the wind well, getting that one close. And I think, yeah, wind will probably play a factor on pretty much all the finishing holes except for maybe 17 and 16.
Is it the road or those?
Again, a question you don't necessarily want to be asking
Yeah.
is where's the OB again?
Yeah.
But he is safe. It is the road in this case that plays as the out of bounds, so he's considerably safe of that. And this was such a tough putt. I remember standing there watching Casey and just thinking, he's got a left to right over the shoulder putt, and then so you got to put it up that much higher as the wind was pushing it down. And even from a different direction, Charlie doesn't read the wind just right.
And he actually does get a meter off of those lines and poles, so didn't take advantage of that there.
Yeah, I think that's funny you say that, because they had a very lengthy conversation and were, I don't want to say confused, but they determined that the road was the OB, so they didn't think he got necessarily a relief from those stanchions.
Right.
So that is interesting.
From
Okay.
what I understand, the road is OB. You get your meter off, but that meter puts you right on the line, and so you get an extra meter off of that, so
Oh.
it's not in your
Well, good
swing.
to know for rounds 2 and 3 out here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, temperatures today in the mid-80s. Obviously, you see the wind, what it's doing. They're talking about inclement weather for Saturday for round number 2. All we can do is hold our breath and
Very
see what
exciting.
happens. But
Yeah.
definitely talking about it. And if you need to stay home and head over to shop.thediscgolfguy.com, you could pick up some rain gear or some other supplies. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What do you do on 14?
14, you got to keep it low. So we have these, you're going to cross a road and then you're going to encounter a ceiling. And so you got to keep it underneath that, miss these 2 pine trees, and then you're to an exposed green. Nothing too crazy as far as terrain goes, a little bit of hill behind it, but the main thing is to get the power right while executing the ceiling.
So hits the ceiling just fine, but actually goes deep, and you see him outside of the circle.
I think that can be a miss. That's what I did, at least, like, make sure you hit the ceiling right, good angle, but if you just throw it too hard, and then, you're out of it. You also get some good ground play like that, so you can play it a little shorter. That was well played by Johnny.
Double or triple skip, that's still going to put him almost to circle's edge.
Yeah, I feel like the wind actually helped push that there with some good skipping, and he's going to, have a little outside the circle look. And man, that is so good, and it looks so easy, but to throw a hyzer underneath the right side of that ceiling is much more scary than, for me at least, than Casey made it look.
Oh, and Orum this time doesn't hit basket, or should I say top band, but hits the basket instead.
Interesting, we have a horseshoe putt. Oh, no.
Looks like I contemplated it.
Okay. A tailwind horseshoe putt might be the move. I don't know.
Jake Hebenheimer would say so.
Yeah. All wins.
Guy, buy one.
And he really has been hitting the cage.
Yeah,
And
almost
that's
everywhere but
difficult.
in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good get, especially for the round Johnny has going right now. All the last holes are gettable. The next one, all of them are difficult, but they're all gettable. So I kind of like that about this course is if you're not super far under par, you can kind of save your round towards the end if you execute well.
Hey, look at that. Hey, it did its job this time. Nice. That pitcher is pretty brutal.
So a couple of birdies here. This averaged almost exactly right at par at 2.9. We're going to just go ahead and say pretty much averaged right on par for the day. Now's about the time you grab some beef jerky.
Yeah.
I'm Garrett Girthy. People know me as Double G. I've been making Double G craft jerky since I was 16 years old.
I'm always a snacker, so about halfway through, I always find myself reaching for that bag of Double G jerky.
My favorite has got to be the garlic lover's dream. You just can't go wrong with garlic and beef jerky. That middle of the round, you get into that slump. I'm going to reach for that Double G craft jerky to help me finish strong.
So most of you can't throw like Double G, but if you get his craft jerky, you can certainly eat like him. Go out and get some Double G craft jerky.
You can find Double G craft jerky at doublegjerky.com.
Big shout out to those guys. Of course, now they've got player packs and all sorts of things, and I know they're bringing on new sponsored players, talking about new flavors. Double G right here out of Florida. We're missing him, but we're on 15.
This is a picturesque hole. Like, you have the low route with the trees, and it's another one where, like, if you hit it, it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. If you have the power, you can try to go over and hit the tree over the basket as a backstop, and that'll be just fine. Roller is also a move here. I don't know if we'll see that, but definitely an option.
Saw that one flirting with the tree branches. I thought it was just going to get smacked down, and then it just continued to kind of sift right through them. And this, well, AC second-guessing life.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to flirt with the tree branches to get it there on this one. Like, I know Matt's just going to prove me wrong. No, he's not. He's proved me right. Maybe not. I don't know. It's a good
No,
skip.
he needed more height. You're right.
Yeah.
That a little bit more height would have allowed for that to catch edge and then probably skip the rest of the way to the pin. And that's kind of the difference between Matty-O and Johnny. Like, it was right in the middle of those two shots is what we just saw from
5-6 meters on that one.
throwing his earbuds around. And Casey lining up from this left side, obviously pinched up against the tree. I don't mean to spoil anything, but I'm going to say that's one of the best shots we will see this round. I mean, just the standstill, you know, coming over hard with the forehand and then having it flex back. Perfect speed. I really, really appreciate that shot.
Ooh, that was close. Yeah, just you hit earlier. Bogey is so in play. With windy up shot, you got to get it close. And to just put that under the basket is very comforting. You know, just walking on there with your par. Digging in his new shoes to this sketchy footing.
I wouldn't say that they're rooting for him on this putt, that's
Oh
for
my
sure.
goodness.
A little frustrated, though, with his stance.
And I feel like you can just see the overcompensation of the cage hits on that putt.
Johnny's putter off. And Charlie makes the comebacker, which is way more of a comebacker than you feel like he should have had from
Yeah.
where he was. But still walks away with the par. Par, a pretty common score here on hole 15. Just tough to get yourself all the way in position at 455, but you really shouldn't be bogeying it unless you hit early.
Yeah, I mean, definitely just hitting early or putting woes is going to result in a birdie or a bogey here. There is OB in the road, but that shouldn't really come into play. That's the most casual dive I've ever seen.
Little dejection as 4 pars on hole 15 and some birdies opportunities at least to finish out for sure, and it starts here on 16.
16, we got this Mando right here. And, like, if this hole didn't have a Mando, it would just be so much less scary, even if you weren't allowed to throw a hyzer. But you just have to hit that. After that, it's pretty open. You have a couple of guardian trees, 345, so just whatever you want. You just have to make the Mando.
Wow, and looking to play the flex shot, which you really like. I mean, you think about hole number 10, kind of a little bit of a flex, uphill, having it hyzer back. Casey, of course, the standstill.
This looks
Tasty.
Yeah. I mean,
It
a
is.
little short, but nothing wrong with that. And hit the gap. That is the only thing you're thinking on this tee box is hit this gap. And if you have to throw a standstill to make sure you hit the gap, nothing wrong with that.
Orum coming in with a little bit more height, but it pans out, and he's going to be right there, pin high.
Too wild. It's
Needs a little more space to catch an edge, and it just doesn't. It kind of skips straight as opposed to catching a hyzer edge and then carrying right to the pin. Otherwise, I love the line.
Yeah, and he hit the gap. I'll just keep saying it. You have to hit the gap.
So McCray almost went into that pipe, which is 30 feet off the fairway. And he has this for his second shot, just trying to fight back out to the fairway. And he's not going to get all the way out there. That actually gets hung up. I was following nothing there. He just didn't get quite all the way out. Couldn't really see it. Charlie looking for a long one.
Oh, my goodness. Man, it feels like he took all of these missed putts and then he added them into that one throw-in as like the same distance. Oh, no.
Yeah, that caught. I was ready to follow that all the way to the pin, and it caught less than 25 feet of forward progress as he pitches that one out. Then he actually goes a little bit deep. Looked like it was a solid bid, but goes deep by at least 25 there. Maybe even closer to 30. Here's Casey now for his birdie look.
Man, and this is just a tough putting round for Casey. I feel like you have a couple of spit outs and then you just don't know what it takes. And you have to just lock back in, know that, we're putting the same, you have to just think of it the same way. You have to hit it the same way. But it can be difficult.
To Orum with the only birdie here on the card.
And man, I feel like Matt's round is not the flashiest thing you've ever seen. He feels like he's left like a decent amount of strokes out there, especially from circle 2. But he's really like that's like a lot of strokes on these guys at this point.
Oh, and McCray just ready to be done with hole 16.
Yeah.
It was McCray for his double bogey.
No. Take your time. I don't even know. That's like not a bad hit, but man, it feels kind of like insult to injury.
Yeah, so we see the birdie by Orum. You see a couple of pars by Casey and Charlie. And JohnE McCray is going to go from 2 under to 2 over with a quadruple bogey 7.
Man, that is just not how I would think that would happen.
Yeah, especially after making the Mando. You think, well,
Right.
there's an easy stroke that you're, putting on your scorecard. He made the Mando and just couldn't get it together after that.
Hole 17, this is a very tricky par 3. Under 400 feet, but man, you have to throw very straight off the tee. There's a tight gap, and then you have to finish left at the end. You don't have to go very far left, but it does have to get kind of left. So this is a Matteo special.
Yeah, hitting the gap, the late gap, gets it to check up, and he's within 20 feet
Nobody
of the pin.
lands right there. Nobody goes long on that tree. That's
long and slightly right. And you're saying that's not the common
no. I
miss,
think
huh?
the miss is usually earlier.
Uh-huh.
But that's what you want, is to push it straight. This is, I feel like, more common. Nothing wrong with it. He hit the gap. He's going to have a circle 2 look. Yeah. An intimidating tee shot, because there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a couple of trees early that you do not want to hit and kick left.
Great shot from Charlie. Just not enough gas. I mean, it
Yeah.
looked like a good line out of his hand. Expecting maybe a little bit more forward progress, but Johnny still in full tilt.
Yeah, he almost just got to play from that tee box, which I think there should be a rule in the PDGA. This is not my original idea. This is Thunder's, my brother's original idea. But if you're within a meter of a tee box, you should just be able to play on the tee box.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah, because it's weird. You see people throw next to tee boxes. Just let them throw on the tee box.
So make it a little easier for the person that just threw the bad shot.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a good shot. I don't know. Just depending on where the tee box is.
I suppose.
Casey's feeling like he needs this putt right now. And he gets it. That's such a good putt.
Solid.
Yeah, I mean, that puts him to 3 down. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and McCray steps up and kind of fires quickly to the point where we weren't even really ready for it. And it hits off a high chain and then sits right next to the basket. So he's going to be tacking another bogey stroke onto his scorecard. Little air brakes from the bus. You can't stop this birdie train, though. It looks like he's all aboard. Matty O trying to close out strong. You were just saying, he's let obviously a few of them get past him, but he's now moved into 8 under. The clubhouse leader, because this is the last card to come out, clubhouse leader is sitting at 7 under at this point. So Matty O now officially becomes your new leader with 1 hole left to go.
And it is a doozy. So, hole 18, we have a low ceiling gap hit to start. Then we got this tree in the middle. And then it's going to kind of slope down to like another lower tier. And then we have another low ceiling trees to a very scary elevated basket. So, nothing to be taken lightly. You want to get your drive in a position to get your upshot in a position to where you don't have to putt for birdie. You want to just get it really close. And that's ideal for Matt. He's so good at those low ceiling power shots, and he gets to pretty much exactly where you want to be.
And often when we've seen him throw a shot like that, Casey's been pretty good about following it up with a similar shot. And this one it was low but overturned. And he's not loving his placement up against that tree. He's got a little room to work. Could have been worse.
And I love this play. For me, this is a roller all day. And that's the only bad thing that can happen unless you hit a tree. And that bottoms out, OB. The wind was not great for the roller today.
That's what I wanted.
You can't blame him for wanting to throw it. Just because, man, it's so hard to get the distance going back in off the tee unless you're Matty O. That kind of gets sneaky, and he's going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, big power drive there by McCray. One thing you can do better than that is like, share, and subscribe, right? Do all the YouTube things.
Yep.
Go. What did they say? Smash the like button?
Yeah, you
Is that what
have
the kids
to.
say?
You have to smash
Ring
it.
and hit the little bell for notifications. You're a YouTuber. You do all this.
I'm not so much a YouTuber, but you ring the bell, you smash the like button, you hit that subscribe maybe.
Okay.
Um,
I'm coming up on 100,000.
wow.
I'm at like almost 91,000, which is nothing I ever really thought about in the past. But now that you get close to that number,
You get a plaque, don't you?
you get a silver play button.
Yeah.
Yeah. So come on, people.
If you're watching this and you're not subscribed to the Disc Golf
What are you
Guy,
doing with your life?
You need to subscribe. Okay, Terry is putting out top tier content. This is the night of this event. Okay, this coverage is coming to you at rocket speed, as far as production goes. Terry is killing it out here. He's doing as good as Matteo with that perfect upshot, and you don't even hate that little kiss off of the base there. You don't want to be too close.
Yeah.
In the round, you do want to be too close, but a little 20-footer, it makes it a little easier to go in maybe.
Yeah, it gives your angle a little bit better coming into this. Here's Casey just trying to pitch it up, like you said. Get it close. That'll work just fine. And big shout out, of course, Visit Tallahassee is your presenting sponsor of the event, and all the other incredible sponsors like Tallahassee Coca-Cola and Prime Meridian Bank, and the entire club here. Just everyone that has anything to do with the event. We appreciate it. Silas, thanks for joining, and also a little disc golf van life. Appreciate Michael and crew and all the whole previews and camera work.
And there it is. The just ideal birdie. Can't pick up the disc easy, but birdie was easy. So 9 down round for Matt. That's going to be hot.
You hear the gobbling. That's a turkey to close out. And keep that in mind for the next couple of rounds as things come down the stretch. As you said, plenty of birdies to be had.
Yeah, and I think just like for Casey, if you're 1 down or something, you grab a couple to finish. Or you're Matty O, where you have a good round going and you just make it even better. I like the finishing holes here because they're tricky, but all gettable.
So we're going to close out, guys. I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for joining. That is round 1 out here at the Tom Brown Park, out here at the 18th Open at Tallahassee. We're going to bring you rounds 2 and 3, next day coverage, MPO action. Hopefully Silas will be along for the ride throughout the entire weekend. As we said, like, share, subscribe, become a Patreon member, do all the YouTube things, whatever it takes out there. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys for round number 2. And I promise it'll be a doozy. Our card featuring Matteo, Caleb Skinner, Mark Chapalonis, along with Aiden Scott. For Silas Schultz, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you tomorrow.
And everyone subscribe to the Disc Golf Guy.
I pay him to say that. See you then.